The effort was the only thing then. I'm not aware of anything else but that at that time. Now, in peacetime or something, I imagine it's a
After Point Blank and The Dirty Dozen, Lee Marvin wasn't just another actor. He was a Hollywood powerhouse with a face that demanded attention. He stood shoulder to shoulder with the biggest legends of his era. But that so-called brotherhood behind the cameras? Total illusion. A shocking list recently surfaced, exposing the 7 actors Marvin couldn't stand throughout his entire career. These weren't just random co-workers. They were supposed to be his friends, his brothers in arms. But instead, they mocked him, undercut his scenes, and fought him for every second of screen time. Things got so bad that studios quietly blacklisted them from ever sharing a set again. Before we dig into the dirt, make sure you smash that subscribe button. It only takes a second and helps a ton. Now, let's get right back into it. Because once you hear these names, you'll never see them the same way again. At the very top of that list sits none other than John Wayne. That's right, the so-called Hollywood hero himself. Lee Marvin despised him, and the truth behind it is way darker than anything fans ever imagined. It all kicked off during the filming of The Comancheros back in 1961. Wayne was talking to reporters, puffing his chest out and bragging that he always tried to embody the American fighting spirit in his roles. But Marvin, overhearing this, didn't let it slide. He stepped right up to him, cameras rolling, and snapped, "You didn't fight. Don't talk like you did." The room froze. Reporters went silent, and Wayne just stood there, completely caught off guard. See, Marvin had served in the Pacific during World War II. He'd been in real combat, wounded in action, while Wayne had spent the war years safely back home making movies about it. Humiliated, Wayne walked off the interview without another word, but that was only the start of their bad blood. Behind the scenes, the tension was just as thick. On set, Wayne tried to teach Marvin how to hold a rifle like a soldier, but Marvin fired right back, literally and verbally. He said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I learned mine at Saipan, where were you?" You could have heard a pin drop. The message hit hard. Marvin's knowledge came from real battle scars, while Wayne's came from Hollywood choreography. Crew members later said Wayne couldn't even meet Marvin's eyes for the rest of the day. The real breaking point hit hard in 1965. That year, John Wayne tried to shove Lee Marvin out of a huge Western project, telling studio heads that Marvin didn't represent true American values. What a bold move. When Marvin found out, he was livid. He told people on set, "He acts like a patriot, but lives like a coward." That wasn't just petty name-calling, it came from a place of real anger. To Marvin, Wayne's flag-waving speeches felt like an insult to every soldier who'd actually put their life on the line. Marvin had paid that price in blood, and he couldn't stand the idea of someone pretending to understand that pain. Wayne, on the other hand, never saw a battlefield, only a movie set. Their feud burned so deep that even after Wayne's death in 1979, Marvin's feelings didn't soften one bit. When a reporter asked if he wanted to send condolences, Marvin coldly replied, "I honor soldiers." He played one. That one sentence said it all. Now, on to another stormy chapter. Frank Sinatra, the arrogant superstar who drove Lee Marvin absolutely nuts. Marvin had zero patience for Hollywood's so-called untouchables, and Sinatra sat right at the top of that list. It wasn't his fame that bothered Marvin, it was his attitude. It all started with Sinatra's total disregard for everyone around him. He was known for showing up late, barking orders, and expecting the whole crew to bend to his will. One day, Marvin watched Sinatra stroll onto set hours behind schedule, acting like he owned the place. Crew members scrambled to keep him happy while he snapped at them like they were beneath him. Marvin, already disgusted by that kind of celebrity ego, finally had enough. He walked straight up to Sinatra, who was shouting directions, and said, "You think just because you show up, the world owes you everything?" Sinatra, never one to stay quiet, fired back fast. "At least I don't scream my lines like I'm still in boot camp." That line hit hard, and everyone nearby froze. From that day on, the tension between the two never faded. It got even worse during The Dirty Dozen. Sinatra was supposed to join the cast, but backed out at the last minute. Marvin didn't hold back. He made sure everyone knew exactly what he thought about that move. When Frank Sinatra bailed on The Dirty Dozen, Lee Marvin's patience finally snapped. To him, Sinatra's excuse about scheduling conflicts was nothing but Hollywood spin. Behind closed doors, Marvin told people he didn't quit because he was busy. He quit because he couldn't handle being part of a team. That comment spread through the industry like wildfire. Sinatra's reputation as a perfectionist and control freak clashed hard with Marvin's no-nonsense, military-style discipline. Marvin believed that acting was a job you showed up for, on time, prepared, and humble, while Sinatra treated it like his personal stage. Their mutual dislike only grew when Sinatra started bad-mouthing Marvin at exclusive Hollywood parties. He joked that Marvin needed a director to tell him how to breathe, which hit a nerve for a man who prided himself on raw, unpolished talent. But Marvin wasn't one to sit quietly while someone dragged his name through the dirt. One night, when both men ended up at the same Beverly Hills bar, things nearly exploded. Witnesses said Sinatra was holding court with his Rat Pack buddies, laughing loudly about tough guys who think war stories make them real men. Marvin, overhearing it, slammed his drink down and marched over. He stared Sinatra dead in the eye and said, "You talk a big game, but when things get rough, you send someone else to fight your battles." The bar went silent. Sinatra's crew stepped in before things got physical, but that confrontation sealed their hatred forever. From that night on, Marvin refused to even consider a project if Sinatra's name was anywhere near it. Insiders later revealed that Marvin didn't just dislike Sinatra's arrogance. He saw him as everything wrong with Hollywood's elite, untouchable, pampered, and disconnected from reality. Meanwhile, Sinatra couldn't stand Marvin's blunt attitude and military grit, calling him a walking hangover in combat boots. Their feud became legend across town, whispered about in every studio hallway and late-night lounge. Lee Marvin didn't mince words when it came to Frank Sinatra. He told crew members straight up, "Sinatra's scared of real men. That's why he couldn't handle being in the same scene with us." That jab echoed through the studio halls like a thunderclap. Marvin meant every word, too, and when Sinatra eventually passed away, Marvin didn't pretend to feel sympathy. Reporters tried to get a reaction, but he coldly said, "Sinatra was the guy who thought the world owed him a round of applause just for walking into a room. That's not the kind of man I respect." Harsh words, but very on brand for Marvin. To Marvin, this wasn't just personal drama. It was a clash of worlds. He despised entitlement, the fake charm, the superstar attitude. Sinatra, on the other hand, couldn't understand why Marvin refused to bow to him like everyone else. It wasn't rivalry, it was pure, unfiltered contempt on both sides. But if Sinatra brought out Marvin's temper, Charles Bronson brought out something even deeper: frustration. Bronson wasn't just another Hollywood tough guy in Marvin's eyes. He was cold, silent, and distant. A man who looked like steel, but felt hollow inside. Marvin couldn't stand his lack of warmth or connection. Their tension reached its peak on the set of The Magnificent Seven. Both were cast as rugged, hardened men, but their styles couldn't have been more different. Marvin was all fire and intensity, always cracking jokes, shouting lines, and commanding attention. Bronson? He stayed quiet, kept to himself, barely speaking to anyone, even between takes. People started whispering, wondering if he even cared about being there. Marvin finally lost his patience one afternoon after a tense shoot. He turned to a fellow actor and muttered, "It's like working with a wall, and the wall's got more personality." The crew tried not to laugh, but the truth was, everyone felt the awkward chill Bronson carried onto set. Bronson's silence wasn't just shyness, it was a wall that no one could break through. Marvin, who thrived on energy and connection, found it unbearable. He wanted teamwork, camaraderie, some spark, but Bronson's cold stare made him feel like he was acting next to a statue. Their bad blood didn't stay secret for long. Crew members noticed Marvin throwing jabs under his breath, mocking Bronson's emotionless vibe. In one interview, Marvin even joked, "Bronson's great in a fight scene, but if I had to go to war, I'd pick someone who actually talks to me." That line summed it all up. Their feud wasn't just about acting styles. It was personal, raw, and full of ego. For Lee Marvin, it all came down to one thing: respect. He believed a real actor had to connect, to feed off the energy of the people around them. So when Charles Bronson refused to engage, Marvin didn't just see him as a quiet guy. He saw him as a selfish performer who disrespected the craft and everyone who cared about it. To Marvin, acting wasn't just about lines. It was about brotherhood, emotion, and mutual trust. And Bronson's icy attitude, it broke all those rules. But the next man on Marvin's hit list took things to an entirely different level: Robert Mitchum, the so-called lazy legend of Hollywood. If there was anyone who could crawl under Marvin's skin faster than anyone else, it was Mitchum, the man who treated every film set like his personal playground. Marvin couldn't stand him. From the first day he saw Mitchum stroll onto set, half awake, half drunk, and totally unbothered, Marvin's blood boiled. Their big explosion came during a late-night shoot in the early 60s. Mitchum stumbled in smelling like bourbon, eyes heavy, script practically untouched. Marvin stood there, watching him miss 3 cues in a row before finally snapping. He stepped forward and barked, "You planning to act tonight or sleep through the whole damn film?" Mitchum didn't even flinch. He just smirked and said, "Relax, kid. The camera loves me. Either way." That smug grin lit Marvin's fuse instantly. It wasn't just the arrogance that infuriated him. It was the fact that Mitchum meant it. Mitchum had a reputation for doing the bare minimum and still looking cool on camera, and that drove Marvin insane. Marvin believed discipline and hard work built greatness, something Mitchum clearly didn't care about. Crew members saw it over and over again. Mitchum leaning against a wall, cigarette dangling, barely rehearsing, while Marvin paced the set like a soldier preparing for war. To Marvin, Mitchum's laziness wasn't just unprofessional, it was pure disrespect, and he wasn't afraid to say so. The worst moment came at a glitzy Hollywood party packed with producers and big names. Marvin, already irritated, finally confronted him in front of everyone. He glared at Mitchum and said, "Your whole career looks like you're sleepwalking." Mitchum didn't miss a beat. He fired back, "At least I don't bark every line like I'm back in boot camp." The room froze instantly. The tension was electric, and within a week, the whole town was talking about it. Their feud became the talk of Hollywood, a clash between raw intensity and effortless cool. And as the years rolled on, one thing became clear. Lee Marvin and Robert Mitchum would never share a frame, a drink, or a kind word ever again. But just when you think Marvin's temper couldn't find another target, enter Yul Brynner, the self-proclaimed king of Hollywood. Marvin didn't care about politics or studio power games, but what he couldn't stand was fake arrogance. And Brynner, he was arrogance personified, a man so obsessed with his image that working with him was like sharing the screen with a royal statue. Their friction started during The Magnificent Seven in 1960. Brynner, already known for his commanding king roles, carried that same attitude off camera, acting like every set was his personal kingdom. And Marvin, a man who valued grit over glamour, wasn't about to bow to any so-called Hollywood royalty. Even when Yul Brynner wasn't playing a king on screen, he still acted like one off camera. Everything he did was about control. He didn't just want to perform, he wanted to dominate everyone around him. To Lee Marvin, who lived by a tougher, more grounded sense of manhood, it was pure nonsense. Brynner kept pushing for script rewrites, adding extra lines just to make his character seem stronger, more powerful, more heroic. Marvin wasn't having it. One day, after yet another argument about Brynner's self-insert dialogue, Marvin looked him dead in the eye and snapped, "You're not the king of the set, Yul. You're just a guy with a big ego and a bald head." The crew went silent, eyes wide, because everyone knew Marvin didn't bluff. And Brynner? He wasn't the type to take that kind of insult quietly. The tension only got worse when the argument shifted to something as ridiculous as lighting. Brynner, ever the perfectionist, demanded the lights be angled just right to highlight his features, wasting hours on minor adjustments. Marvin finally exploded, saying, "You're not acting. You're just waiting for the spotlight to hit you right." He meant it too. To Marvin, Brynner's obsession with lighting wasn't about making the movie better. It was about feeding his own ego. He saw it as pure vanity, the opposite of what real acting stood for. On the other hand, Brynner saw Marvin's blunt honesty as an attack on his professionalism. And from that moment, they were enemies, plain and simple. Their feud grew so heated that when studios discussed future projects, Brynner's name was off the table. Marvin made it clear he'd rather walk away from a movie than share a set with someone like Yul Brynner again. And that's how Lee Marvin's list of rivalries became one of Hollywood's most explosive legends. These weren't just creative differences. They were full-blown battles of pride, power, and personality. From John Wayne's fake patriotism to Sinatra's ego, Bronson's coldness, Mitchum's laziness, and Brynner's obsession with control, Marvin clashed with the biggest names in the business and never backed down once. So now the question is, whose name on Lee Marvin's hate list shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories that the studios never wanted you to hear. See you in the next video.